there's no industries as dynamic as a restaurant. And then
it's a tough industry.
It's tough. And then you have to open the darn thing. Having a vision for something that's not exactly there for what we're looking for is the best way to create something, because if we want it, then other people will likely want it. When guests leave a restaurant, after 48 hours, they don't remember what they ate or drank exactly. They don't remember what anything costed. They just remember how they still feel after it. It's America's last hand-rolled cigar factory, still in operation. They produce 60,000 cigars there a day. That's really what I learned most in New York, is every day matters, every guest matters, every single little thing. The little details are the big details.
Yeah, because they compound.
And, people need a sense of belonging. That's what they're looking for. And what we're looking to do is just take care of people. We're on their side.
Hello, all you beautiful people. Welcome to Talkin St. Pete. I am your host, Ryan Bogden. Before we get into today's amazing guest, and he's been very patient with me, I want to let you know that this podcast is sponsored by Bogden Homes here at KW St. Pete. So if you know anyone in the greater Tampa Bay area that has any housing needs, even if you need a new landscaper, you're thinking about buying or selling, or maybe you're thinking about investing, find our information in the description below. We'd be happy to have a consultative conversation with you and help you along your journey. And that is how we keep this podcast going. And now on to my amazing guest. He showed up with incredible food. It's one way to my heart is show up with some good food. I got Nate Siegel in the house, the owner of Cheeky's, a new oyster bar here in St. Pete, and the co-founder of Willa's and Willa's Provisions over in Tampa. And he's also a principal of the Thank You Hospitality Company, where he's doing amazing things over in Tampa. So thank you, Nate, for coming on the show.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Yes. I'm so glad we could get started and off to it. And he brought this amazing hat. If you're just listening, I got a cool red cheeky St. Pete hat, trucker's hat, which you will see me wearing around town. So
sweet. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. So Nate, you got Cheeky's Oyster Bar, opened in May. You just celebrated 6 months. Mm-hmm. What's it feel like to be on this side of the bridge?
It feels great. We love St. Pete. We love Central Avenue. Learning the neighborhoods in St. Pete every day. It's really a place. I grew up in Tampa, spent most of my life there. Went to school in New York and then started my career in New York City. Was there for about 15 years. And my wife, who's from Tampa as well, we were like, time to go home. Mm-hmm. So we were between either Tampa or St. Pete, but both of our parents live in Tampa, and that's where we ended up. But we've always loved coming to St. Pete for so many reasons. And Central Avenue, for sure, I think it's one of the best strips of retail in the entire Southeast. Very few places you can walk 40 blocks and check out cool places and shops and galleries and restaurants. And, we think it'll be up there with Charleston and New Orleans and Savannah and cities like that.
I couldn't agree more. And you're the first person to come on the show to describe it in that fashion of 40 blocks of walkability, of amazing shops. And so tell me, so we'll get into what Cheeky's is, but since you just went there, how did you know your location? What was the sensation or feeling? You're like, oh, this is where we're going to put Cheeky's, the great oyster bar of St. Pete now. Yeah,
we spent a lot of time looking for space, and usually when you stop looking so hard, things kind of present themselves. So that's kind of how it happened. And was connected with a couple great guys who were investing in the neighborhood, and they found a building. And we actually built our space over the parking lot of what was China Finders, this amazing 30-year-old plateware institution that, they've retired and shut their doors. And so they took over the building, and we took one big corner of it, built over the space over the parking lot, and that's where Cheeky's ended up. But we like to be in places that are not yet there in terms of super busy and super kind of established, and that edge of Grand Central District is really still very nascent, and we're kind of at the end of it. Mm-hmm. And we know in a couple of years we'll be very much in the middle of it. And that's kind of the same strategy we used opening up in North Hyde Park in Tampa. Very similar, way behind where Central Avenue is, of course, but we knew what was coming, and we believed in the vision.
Yeah, so so for those that haven't heard of Cheeky's yet, for the two people that haven't heard of it, what is Cheeky's and why are we so excited about it?
Thank you. Yes, Cheeky's is a fish and raw bar, neighborhood joint, everyday dining, kind of come as you are. And a couple of days a week, we've got a great happy hour. Every day we're open. We're open for dinner Wednesday to Sunday right now. We're looking to add Monday, Tuesday as well as season comes on. Lunch on the weekends. And it's all about fresh fish, fresh oysters, ice cold drinks, really good service, and the kind of place you wish you lived next to. And I spent a lot of time up in the Northeast, worked out in the end of Long Island and the Hamptons for a few summers. My wife's family is from Martha's Vineyard, so we've spent a lot of time there, and really how those areas and communities really kind of depend and rely on the waters. And our waters here are just as healthy as those waters up north. And I felt that there was a bit of an opportunity for a kind of very casual, really nice seafood that is not on the beach, but more located downtown. That was missing definitely in Tampa, and had room too in St. Pete. St. Pete I think has much better seafood restaurants. There's some great ones right near us. Trophy Fish, Oyster Bar just reopened near us. They're great, and I'm kind of thinking of it as Oyster Row now. With all these great spots to hit. Barbuni, and the place behind Baba that's just a gem, and all boats rise. The more great offerings in a small area, the more people will come, and we really love being next to such great neighbors.
Well, I love that you have that perspective, because my motto has always been collaboration over competition, and the fact that we can have a date night and go down, as you say, Oyster Row, right, and try a couple of different out, and I just started to indulge in oysters.
Sure.
I was against them. My girlfriend is an oyster connoisseur. She loves them more than me sometimes, I think, and so
you gotta come.
and so. Learning of the different kinds and the different waters and all this stuff, I can it's amazing, right?
Yeah. Well, you can definitely get really deep into it.
Yeah.
And we don't really lead with that. It's always there,
right.
But we're not trying to, be an overall education when people are just coming in just
right. Yeah, they just want to hang out.
a dozen oysters and a cold beer.
Yeah.
We've got some great frozen cocktails that match with it too.
Yeah.
And oyster or seafood definitely is the tip of the spear of what we're doing. And then beyond that, super fresh goldfish. We're bringing in some, really amazing redfish this weekend. Cobia, triple tail, pompano, and just stuff that's right here. The redfish from Sarasota. A grouper. I was telling you the Gulf fishery for grouper is the best in the world. Sure, we've got a great grouper sandwich.
Love a grouper sandwich.
And there's, I've never had a bad grouper sandwich, and we just try to do our best version. And not taking too many takes on it, just really, fastballs right down the middle, really easy going, nothing too fusion or out there, just really approachable for anybody.
So how did you land on this concept, right? Because it's unique in the sense of that most recently, I feel like everything that's tried to open in St. Pete is trying to go really upscale, right? And I love that you went in a neighborhood, come as you are fashion, right? And I think I can tell the vibe that you're going for, bringing that Northeast fishery vibe down here. So tell me about the vision. Where did it begin? Where was the moment where Cheeky's was born in your mind?
Right. Several years ago, for sure. And both places with Willa's and Cheeky's, my wife and I, spent about a decade in New York and really got used to just the best of anything. And when we moved back home and, loved being in Tampa and visiting St. Pete, but we felt that there were, at least with Willa's to start, not an all-day cafe and a place where you can come any time of day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, get a great meal, no need a reservation, traditional French-American food done really well, very classic. And so that's what we built there. And then for here, Cheeky's, same kind of thing, oysters done well as part of an overall seafood program with something for everybody. My wife's not the biggest seafood lover, so we've got a great burger, great salads, to round out the menu, great kids menu. My daughter helped produce and design, which is really fun.
That's amazing.
And so we feel that having a vision for something that's not exactly there for what we're looking for is the best way to create something, because if we want it, then other people will likely want it. And we do it from a very humble, starting point. But we feel that if it's something that we would really be excited about, it will work. So that's how we really start things.
I love that. So where did the name Cheeky's come from?
Cheeky's is my nickname. My big brother, Matt, It's been a nickname he told me since I, was born. And, big, pinchable, round cheeks.
Yeah.
Still calls me it. I used to hate it. And now we've got a really fun brand
embraced
around it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Unwittingly. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I love that. So this is your spot.
That's right.
This is your spot.
Very lucky.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I always think it's fun to share the journey of okay, how like you got from concept, but was it a long road to get Cheeky's open? Did it move fast? Like I feel like everyone's journey in opening an actual storefront in St. Pete's been a little bit different. So what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, definitely fits and starts. I've had great building partners and landlords that were really supportive and we have literally daily calls about their side of the building, my side of the building, and just really helpful with a great GC, a local guy named Rod Huffman, who's been in Pinellas County for decades, and he's amazing and has, really developed a great reputation with great subs, and it's all about the people around us that make it happen. And it's even true now with our team that helps run the place. Can't do anything without building a great team first. But definitely some issues with permitting, with drawings, and great architect with Phrase Architects, who's only a few blocks from here. So really try to keep it super local with people who knew what we were, what we needed to do with the city, and try to do it in partnership. And Grand Central District with the business district run by Chris Arnold, they do an amazing job and really is helpful to help us introduce people, or help introduce us to neighbors. And we've been coming here for years, and the team at Wild Child and Baba and Bandit, we're friends, and to be even able to just open next to them has been such a blessing, and really makes us step our game up. But yeah, we would, I'd like to say that we were on budget, but 6 months late in terms of the construction process from start to finish.
Did storms have anything to do with that?
Thankfully, no.
Okay, good.
I didn't even know how lucky we were to be 53 feet above sea level. I remember, when the storms were bearing down us, and so many people were so less fortunate. And, it almost feels like yesterday or like 10 years ago, kind of thing, how tough those 2 weeks were, and obviously what was afterwards. But we were lucky, well above sea level, and kind of 3/4 of the way through construction, so we were pretty fine.
I didn't know if that slowed down your permitting or anything like
that. That definitely, with the permitting for everybody that really needed things quickly, definitely went to the front of the line ahead of us, which, of course. It could just never be quick enough. We've met some great contacts at the city in terms of their planning and development office who've been helpful to get things through, and we finally got it done and opened up on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. And we've been open since.
Awesome. Love that. So tell me how your journey from, Tampa to New York, you spent time in Philly?
Born there, was there for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, right,
and then,
right. Okay. So we'll scratch that off. But so from Tampa to New York back, and now Tampa to St. Pete, like how has that shaped your hospitality experience, and what's the biggest parallels or differences between St. Pete and New York?
Great question. I went to college in upstate New York, and then moved down to New York City, and was just really always been fascinated by restaurants. My grandfather was from Central Pennsylvania, and he had Mount Carmel.
Okay.
Super small coal country.
Yeah.
All about high school football. The Red Tornadoes is what he lived for, and he had a general store and a hoagie shop, and was a butcher, and was really the center of the town. And so that's really where it comes from in terms of food and taking care of people and nourishment and things like that. So I moved to New York, was working in creative field with design and marketing and advertising. Was laid off in the recession in 2009, and restaurants were really have always played an important part in New York City, of course. But that period was really interesting with restaurants becoming more kind of like lifestyle driven and much more front and center in terms of the overall population and what they were interested in. That's the time when Eater was founded, which is restaurant news. And a guy named Ben Leventhal founded that, and then founded Eater, then Resi, and now Blackbird, and really kind of seeing how he's that helped launch his career, and we've been kind of in following his lead with restaurant technology and development. That was just a really interesting time. And I was spending a lot of time in restaurants and bars, and I said, let me give this a shot, and met with some great operators in New York, and got a job as a dishwasher, starting at the bottom with a guy named Keith McNally, who's an icon in New York. So I figured if I could learn this business, it would be with the best team I could find, and that was a place called Polino's. Keith McNally owns some iconic places like Balthazar and Pastis and Minetta Tavern, so many. Schiller's, and Morandi. So was just a sponge with his team, and moved up, started to, work with the chefs and receive food, and became a steward, and, was just saying yes to anything that they asked for. And quickly, got comfortable and loved every minute of it, and seeing an opening that was really, really impactful with everything to come together was just something I felt really, really comfortable with. And so learned from Keith's team for a long time, and just the power of a space and creating having a vision, creating a brand, building a team, and then went to do it with some other groups in New York, and worked in nightlife and another startup. And those summers in the Hamptons were really influential too, to see the volume and season and everything that was involved with starting a restaurant that was only going to be open for 4 months and then closed for Memorial Day to Labor Day, and that's it. Wow. And really the fast track and a short runway to create something that was a really big part of the overall community in Montauk. And then, restaurants are so dynamic. The different industries that we have to be really strong in, everything from planning and legal to licenses, insurance, and that's even before you get to branding and marketing and overall design development of the menu and the space. There's no industries as dynamic as a restaurant, and then
it's a tough industry.
It's tough, and then you have to open the darn thing.
And
right. Then that's really when
operations.
When the work really starts to run the thing for 50 years, hopefully. Yeah. With a team. We've got about 30 employees at Cheeky's. Have to bring it every day. That's really what I learned most in New York, is every day matters, every guest matters, every single little thing. The little details are the big details.
Yeah, because they compound.
They do.
Yeah.
And just leading with kindness and gratitude, and being super positive no matter what's going on in the kitchen, or if something's missed or missed a delivery, or there's so many things that can go wrong, and just keeping a steady as you go kind of course. Yeah.
So speaking on that and the journey that you've been on, because I love that you're started from dishwasher to now owner, right, operator of a successful group. What separates the good from the bad? What separates those that will be here in 50 years to those that close in 18 months?
I think there's a lot of things that could go wrong in a restaurant, and a lot that can go right too. I think what we found that is showing to work at least in 6 months, and hopefully we'll be here for 50 years, is instead of trying to do too much, trying to get smaller and just do a few things really well. And I think small is really good, and having a narrow focus, and really letting other people be super complex, and just trying to be really good at the basics and lean into those even more. Sometimes we can't be everything to everybody. We don't have a ton of vegan items. There's places that do that really well. We know that's not what fits really well for us. Our fish and our shellfish they're everywhere in the kitchen. So it's not. It's just to try to do that really well. It's just not what we can do. So we accept what we can't do, and then lean into what we can do, and focus on that. And give things time. Things take time. You say compounding. That's it takes a lot of time to see how things work, and we change things all the time. Little things, just constantly tweaking and tailoring the menu and our seating and our floor plan and our training, and know that we're never just fully complacent. We can never be. we always have to be open to change and learning, and keep our door open to criticism, and always learn from those, and thank guests for leaving a bad review if God forbid something happens, and say, hey, thanks for showing us. We'll take it back and we'll learn from it. Come give us a shot another time, and knowing that we don't know much, and constantly trying to learn. I think that's what we try to lead with.
Yeah, no, I like it. Attention to detail, and I can tell already, Nate, that you're a lead with relationships first, kind of guy. Like I said, I've talked to many different restaurateurs throughout town, and only 2 have brought food, and you're one of the 2, right? And
we're happy to do so.
Yeah, so that just speaks volumes. So, so tell me, what's been the biggest difference from Tampa to St. Pete, right? Willa's, not Wilma's. I kept saying Wilma's, gang. I was feeling so bad. I realized I had a little brain fog coming into this. Willa's, right? Willa's, totally different concept. But overall, like 30,000-foot view of restaurant owner in 2 very different cities, but very close to each other, just with that big body of water that separates them.
Right.
What's been the biggest cultural change?
Yeah, I think I get this question a lot, and I don't think the biggest similarity is its proximity. I think culturally they're very different markets, Tam and St. Pete. I think St. Pete is much more casual. I would say even more approachable and super friendly and kind. And I think Tampa has both markets have seen so much explosive growth over the last decade, certainly over the last 5 years. But they still feel small, in a way that's
compared to New York, for sure.
For sure. I mean, I think especially for both of the concepts with their neighborhood restaurants. And what's that mean? That means they're owner operated by locals, don't need reservations, everyday dining, consistent menus that don't change very often, and giving people when guests start to become regulars, and studies show it takes 4 visits for a guest to become a regular.
Okay, that's a good stat.
And so we really focus on that kind of like stickiness of like building those relationships and trying to present ourselves really well in all aspects, particularly online, from our website to social, and to convert those people who are either walking by or just scrolling by to come in.
Yeah.
That's the conversion. And so, those passerbys, keeping our front porch really nice and always making it look pretty as a postcard, we like to say, so that they come in and they can trust us, and we're going to show them a good time. And then so that first visit is really critical to get them back. And I feel that St. Pete's, they really are looking to be regulars much more than Tampa, because I think Tampa's, I'm not sure exactly, how, the size and landmass kind of sprawl. They're similar, but, St. Pete's big. Central Avenue's small, but, there's lots of neighborhoods around here that have really great things going on, and, so trying to develop that kind of relationship with the guest. People like to go to new places, so we're new. And, we opened in May and had our, didn't even really have a grand opening. We just opened. We kind of feel now is our grand opening with season here. Lots of, tourists are coming back, and snowbirds that have been away since, for summer. And so we're excited to kind of have that relaunch, with season here. But I think, they're more different than the same, which I think is good. It's nice to have differentiation with 2 markets that kind of feel like sister cities that we are. But like I was saying before, we don't get a lot of traffic coming over the bridge. The bridge is, it takes me 24 minutes door to door from my house to Cheeky's. It's not a bad drive. You get to go over the water. It's beautiful. Crazy drivers out there, though.
Oh, yeah. Got to watch out for those. Yeah.
But our numbers show that, only 5% of guests are from 813.
Wow.
To Cheeky's. And I'd say even less to Willa's. So that says a few things in terms of, people like to be hyper local and support what's around them. But also there's opportunity on either market. If we open in Tampa or,
right, because you're not stealing from.
We're not. It's far enough away, which, 20 miles is a lot. So they're so different. And we feel that, we're just trying to develop those relationships with St. Pete. And the last thing we want to be is, someone from Tampa coming over to tell St. Pete what to do.
Right.
That's definitely not. We're learning and just trying to be great neighbors in what I think is the best neighborhood in St. Pete and Kenwood.
What's been the most St. Pete thing you've experienced so far?
The markets, the fairs, Central Avenue shutting down every couple months and just having this huge party in the street. We don't get that in Tampa. Tampa is so much more balkanized with the districts that are so separate, whereas at least on Central Avenue, it's one, and it's amazing. I think, I see, St. Pete's much more active. We have beaches here, and people are more outdoors here, and in Tampa we don't. We love to see people, our neighbors in Kenwood, just walk in the back door, not even drive. That's the bet. That's really
awesome.
what we're looking for.
Yeah. Show up on the golf cart, right?
And to be be that spot for them that they can come for really any reason, for happy hour, for just a couple drinks, and for a big dinner with friends, or for a nightcap. We really want to be, have a different reason for guests to be here, no matter what they're looking for.
Makes sense. I mean, Central's popping, right? Central's just a whole cool game, So I'm curious, right? So Willa's, all these concepts, right? I guess where I really want my question to go is what's been the most influential restaurant experience that you've had, if you could think back to I'm sure you've eaten at hundreds, if not thousands of places at this time. What's been a place, and maybe let's say it's not local, so you're not, right? That's shaped outside of your work experience to where you showed up to a place and you were like, dang, I just learned something, or they blew you away, or do you see where I'm going with the question?
Yeah, I learned every time I'm dining somewhere, I'm learning. And my favorite places are hole in the walls. Yeah. Greasy Spoons.
Yeah. So, but let's go to the high. What's the most right now, Nate? As I drop that question in your brain, what's one that's man, that was just.
So this is I spent about a year in Madrid while I was in college, and that the dining experience and the approach to food and service in Madrid during that time, in probably 2007, was really influential. Best restaurants in the world are in France and Spain. And Spain during that time was really leading things with Fran Adria, and in the north of Spain, and certainly so many restaurants in Spain itself. But so that was hugely influential with the approach to food, the craft, and also the service that I still think is the best in the world. So that was really kind of. It wasn't that I decided then that I wanted to get into restaurants. That happened, when I really pushed the button in probably 2009, but pretty close to it.
But all these things start to shape your consciousness and to go, okay, this is something that I'm going to go for.
Restaurants really, I study a lot of great operators. Danny Meyer's a big one that I always look up to and read his stuff. And, Setting the Table is an iconic book that I read every year. And he likes to say, and we follow it, is that it's not about the food and the drinks that people come to a restaurant for. Sure, that's part of the transaction, but it's how we make you feel. And, people need a sense of belonging. That's what they're looking for. And we got great restaurants everywhere, up and down Central, all over Tampa. And so why are people going to come to us? And what we're looking to do is just take care of people. We're on their side. And so to answer your question a long way, we went to 11 Madison Park in New York, which needs very little introduction. One of the best restaurants, Michelin #1 in the world, San Pellegrino. Dan O'Hume and Will Gadara run it. They actually bought it from Danny Meyer. And my wife and I had dinner there. We had visited back to New York after being back in Tampa a few years. And so we sit down, and it's very intimidating. It's, 8-10 courses, super expensive, and definitely, a bucket list, you go there once kind of thing. Right. Some people are regulars, we're not, but but they took it upon themselves to kind of look us up, and we made reservations, and they figured out that we were from Tampa, and this is in Madison Park, New York.
Wow.
And they said they noticed I was in the restaurant industry, and they said, hey, one of our staff members has been to your place. And I was like, amazing. And whether it was true or not, they made me believe it was.
Yeah.
I like to believe that they were.
Right.
And so their staff members was in Sarasota, and I was running Mise en Place for a few years when I first got back to Tampa with Marianne Ferentz and Marty Blitz, who are amazing. Learned so much from them. And so they instantly created this level of comfort and belonging that we had. And made, here I am talking about 10 years later,
And how much time did that take them, right?
It took nothing.
Nothing. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, you put your reservation how much in advance? Because I'm sure that had to be
Months.
Right. Okay, so they have months to say, okay, who's going to be dining with us on this night at 7?
Look them up on LinkedIn, or this is even early stages of Instagram.
Right.
Like so they went through the time to do that because they cared.
Yep.
And then they made the note and they made the connection. I met the chef. I don't even remember what we ate.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's how you felt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we can't wait to go back.
Yeah. No, I love that you share that story, because that being in the, we provide a service, right? In real estate, and we say all the time, people don't remember, they remember moments. So what are the key moments throughout this experience that we want them to really remember?
Right.
And so knowing how the brain works, you can really lean into that. And I love that you had that. And I love that how you pulled from your Spain experience, because there's something it's really hard to find it in the States, and it's just a cultural difference of how dining in Europe is so much different than dining in the United States. And even if you're trying to bring that place, it's still like this turn of table feeling, right? Like you try not to, but there's still that. But there's something about when you eat in Europe, and I'm sure you've experienced it, where you're like, this is our table for the rest of the night, and no one's gonna make us feel otherwise. What a weird, I don't know, that separation.
Well, I think it's an overall just kind of like totally different perspective to life in Europe.
Yeah.
We live to work, right? They work to live, and it's totally different. When I was in Spain, I lived with an amazing host family, and we would eat every night. Our senora, her name was Paloma. She's a beautiful woman, amazing. We would eat at 10:30 every night.
Wow,
Late every night.
Yeah, it wasn't like there was a one-off. It didn't matter. Yeah,
every night, and then everyone goes out. Everybody, and this is a major city in Europe. Not everywhere is like that.
Right. But no, that's the culture to
Right, and it's just such an important part of their life. Instead of just what do? We have lunch for 15 minutes and run back to work, it's the wrong way, but unfortunately that's what everyone's doing.
Some of us are eating dinner in front of the TV.
That's what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
And it's a totally different way to be, and we definitely inspire to be like that. But what we're doing now is the way it is. But that what you just said, it's another thing. If a guest really is going to be at a table for the whole night, we're going to let them. We're lucky to be busy, but we're not going to kick anybody out if they're just having a great time. And it's really trying to develop that rapport with the guests for what they're looking for, and really customizing that experience to every guest that comes in. If they want to move to the bar, if they want to open another bottle of wine or do another round of oysters, we just have that conversation, and then we can tailor that experience directly to them. And that's really what we try to find and define as like the difference between service and hospitality. That's a conversation that comes up a lot. But service is a transaction. You can get service anywhere. Here's your food, you pay us, and see you later. Thank you. With hospitality, it's everything in the middle, and trying to find those ways to make that experience even better than what it is that they're doing. And taking care of them, being on their side. Making them feel that they can belong and stay till closing or past closing, and we'll let them, and that's really what matters the most. Because when guests leave a restaurant, after 48 hours, we've seen some studies that show that they don't remember what they ate or drank exactly. They don't remember what anything costed. They just remember how they still feel after it. And so that's really where we try to hone in on as the our big differentiator.
Yeah. Well, Nate, there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to continue to be extremely successful in your industry. I can just, you can. I've done enough of these, and I've had enough interactions. I'm still very early in my life, but at the same time, you can see talent, right? You can recognize it. So, kudos to you in leaning to that. And so, which leads me to my next question: with the continuous growth in our area, and knowing that you are a visionary, What's next?
With St. Pete, with Tampa.
Yeah, I know it's an open-ended question,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. What's next? Yes. What's next for you and your group?
Mm-hmm.
And is there already what is there something on the bookshelf already that's?
Yeah, we're super excited for what we have going on right now.
Yeah, of course.
in St. Pete.
Yeah.
And really focus on that. We'd love to be working on a Cheeky's in Tampa, maybe next year, open in a couple years. We feel that the markets are so diverse that we can be there without cannibalizing over here. And we believe in the brand and the concept, and we're excited about that. I'm working on a couple really fun hotel projects. The Tahitian Inn is being redeveloped, and so that's a original Motor Inn motel on Del Mabry. That's going to be reimagined still as the Tahitian, but a super nostalgic and really sweet place. We're calling it a neighborhood hotel. I live right behind it, so I really know the area really well. So that will reopen in probably mid next year. We're doing 2 concepts in there that we're super excited about. And then the J.C. Newman Cigar Factory, which if you haven't been, I'd love to give you a tour.
I would love to come. I love cigars.
It's America's last hand-rolled cigar factory, still in operation. They produce 60,000 cigars there a day.
Let's make sure we set that up.
And
yes.
a fully restored building. Anyways, it's an original family-owned, 4th-generation operation.
Wow.
And they're expanding into the hospitality business with a really ambitious project across the street from their factory in North Ybor, on the corner of Columbus and 16th. So it's Tampa's first concrete building, if that makes sense. It's so old, 1910 warehouse called the Sanchez y Haya building. And we're putting it back to what it was built as because, in Ybor, everybody lived near the factories where they worked. And, really that, that kind of community was how things were developed down there. And it was a boarding house with a cafe downstairs. So it's upstairs is going to be 11 really nice hotel rooms. And then downstairs is a American restaurant called Elaine's, and a cigar club called Stanford's. So that's a huge project, 15,000 square foot building, a great team around it.
How long have you been working on that?
They bought the building in 2020.
Okay.
Tons of renovation, and it's very much an adaptive reuse building. It's a historic building, and so it's been worked on for 5 years already. So like to see that coming to open up next November.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's really cool. And it's not like you're just informing because I don't know anything that's going on over there. I'm so focused on there's so much happening.
Well, you're teaching me about St. Pete even more. I'm still learning so much.
Yeah. There's so much going on. That's where the latest thing that's been on my mind is the 87-acre development project of
For sure.
the historic gas plant district.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone's watching what the heck's going on with that thing.
I mean, I feel like for 25 years we've been hearing about this, and my ears almost bleed because everyone just wants something to happen. And it's such an amazing opportunity. Even like the original history of the Tropicana Field, I'm not sure if you know, was a spec stadium. They built it without a team.
Wow.
Who does that?
Yeah.
There was,
that would not happen today.
The Rays, a few teams back in the mid 90s, I guess, early 90s, were almost coming. We almost landed the Giants, San Francisco Giants came to Tampa. Obviously they didn't, but then the Chicago White Sox were talking to move, and they were threatening to move to Tampa.
I heard about that.
So St. Pete really prioritized getting a team, and they built the stadium, and that's how the Rays came about in I guess '96, and it's definitely served a great purpose, and the Rays for. All the flack that they get, a super successful franchise, two pennants, and not many teams can say that. And even the ownership group that just transitioned were amazing. The new ownership group is super exciting, of course, and can't wait to see what they do next.
It's a big question mark. There's a lot of politics that's going on right now with all of it. I peeked,
what do you think?
I peeked behind the curtain, and it's a mess.
Yeah, don't worry.
It's a mess. I mean, I got asked to be on the news twice in 1 week regarding this because the Sierra Club and the School of Innovation and Creativity was doing a workshop where the citizens were able to voice their opinions on what this should look like.
People have lots of opinions.
Too many, and it all was prompted from the unsolicited proposal of ARC Investments, Kathy Woods, and Emerson's development project.
Yeah, Casey Ellison. Yeah.
Yep. And so then legally, mayor has to open it up for at least 30 days, and the local developers just lost their minds because they're like, how do you expect us to do anything in 30 days? So I heard the mayor was getting an earful about that. He did extend it for another 30, so now there's a 60-day window, and I think it will start post-holiday. So I think the clock starts like in December. Don't quote me. So we'll see what happens, and it's this revolving door, like you said. Like you've been hearing about this for so long. My thing is like now, if we're looking ahead, the Rays obviously will come back to finish out their lease term at Tropicana.
Yeah, at least 3 seasons. At least.
Yeah, which will be good because I heard from some local businesses. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. Felt a downturn in sales recently because you're thinking that's 1.2, 1.3 million visitors that didn't come through St. Pete this summer for baseball. That's a lot of people. It's a lot of commerce. It's a lot of business.
Big time.
So what is going to be and so now you're going to have that development period. That's a lot of money if compound that over 10 years of development, 15 years of development.
Sure.
What do we do about that?
Right.
No idea. And then what's also going to take place to draw in a crowd if we want to continue that tourist population, visitor population coming through the city.
Right.
I don't know, Nate. It's a whole thing. You almost wonder if it's just too big, and it just needs to be broken up, right? Because it's like you're looking at a 20+ year project that's going to go over budget, that's going to get delayed. The vision may change in 15 years to where you want it to. I don't know. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Rays. One of definitely they need to be in Tampa Bay. To lose them would be a travesty. And I know that's been taken off the table with the new ownership group, thankfully. Would love to see them here in St. Pete for sure. I mean, we didn't come here because of that. It was really nice to, I remember when we signed our lease on Central, the Rays kind of announced that, that Heinz deal. That was amazing,
Yeah.
So that's we're not relying on that. Obviously, it would be nice to have 81 home games, 15,000 people at least to every game nearby. And we're not completely in the shadows of the Trop. We're 10 blocks away, but still close enough that people could walk there.
You would have to say that you wouldn't have traffic come from the games. You absolutely would have Rays jerseys in your building.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so we'd love to see him stay here. I think that opportunity with 80 some odd 90 acres, urban development near the water, major city, is one of one in the entire country. And to see a group like Heinz not be able to, or at least I'm not sure everyone's blaming each other, but if a group like that can't get it done with the city, who can? So it's just concerning that how we're going to see it done well, because what we would hate to see is it just getting broken up and not be cohesive. I'm no urban planner for sure, and I'm just a fan of great neighborhoods. We love what Water Street's brought. When we opened Willa's kind of right around when Water Street was coming to market, and same kind of thing. We weren't depending on that, Tampa's been knocking at the door as a major city for 40 years, and finally they're doing these huge projects that take a long time, take a ton of money, so much support from the community, from politics to overall developers. And, I think the Rays will be here for longer than 3 years. There's no way they're going to find 100 acres and get anything built in 3 years.
Yeah. A lot of people are thinking that they're already gone, that they're already in Tampa. I mean, the politics behind that are just ridiculous.
Sure. Well, how it all went down last October was just literally a perfect storm of just issues.
Literally the top blew off.
And the top blew, the storm killed 2 stadiums.
Yeah.
And then the transition from the administration and everything bad that could happen happened, and to nobody's fault. And that's just now we're trying to put it back together.
Yeah, as we were just talking, it's the hospitality and the relationships that, from what I've heard, with having an ear to the ground, that have not been happening. right? So, and whether the current group is using that as leverage to get the deal that they need to stay in St. Pete, who knows? But they have 95% of general pop saying Rays are going to Tampa, which is not good, right? And you have a lot of locals who are huge Rays fans that are very upset about that. So I've spoke to some business owners that are well informed just because of the industries that they're in, and they're like, with the proper, we have a great fan base here. We never had great marketing for the Rays. If we add the great marketing for the Rays in St. Pete, it blows up. Whether that's right or wrong, that's just what I'm hearing, right? So it's really interesting, and it's a huge part of our city, right? I mean, like you said, it's one of the largest urban land developments in the country, and it just seems like we keep spinning in circles.
Yeah, no, I know something will happen, and just staying positive with things. To hopefully.
Yeah, no. I think whatever
positive,
happens is going to be amazing. It's just a matter of what is it that's going to happen, and what's that timeline look like. Right.
But I mean, the groups that are pitching are great. Ellison's building beautiful things, and I know they've got a great team there. Obviously, ARC is some of the smartest people in the world. They're getting the right kind of ideas on the table and just being really, really different. Even the Rays. I remember, Melanie Lenz, who's still one of their chief development officers. She's brilliant. We hosted maybe 8 years ago. They did. It was called the Blue Sky Sessions, and they were going to local businesses and different industries, and we hosted one for what should the stadium be, no matter where it is, whether it's in Tampa or St. Pete, what should it be? And they had just really contrarian, really cool ideas to make something that was 365 days instead of just 81. They were talking about having the venue, restaurants in the stadium be able to be open all the time. If you got a corporate suite, it could be your office. They were talking about different ways to handle tickets so that, if you want to just come for 5 innings, you could do that. And then you would go move somewhere else. They were just, everything was on the table.
Yeah.
And their team, the Rays have some really smart people running the organization, top to bottom. So they're working with what they've got, and they want the best for their organization and the market too. And just got to believe that it'll happen.
Yeah, no, something, right? Like you said, something will happen. We'll see. There is right now, unfortunately, I think for those that are maybe too involved or emotionally involved or been burned because of previous deals and falling apart, blah, 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 blah. I mean, the stories are insane. We just want to remove the politics from it and just see some progress and get it done. So that's where I'm at. I'm excited to keep reporting on it, and as the story continues to develop, and try to stay up to date. Right, a lot of things are happening behind the scenes that aren't public, and so it's really there. There's a lot of in the dark and ambiguity around it that we just don't know what's happening. So. More to come on that. Yeah.
But I think the Rays will be in St. Pete at least 5 years.
Yeah, that's your prediction.
That's my prediction.
Okay,
and maybe winning a World Series.
That that would help.
That's what we want.
That would help, right? Yeah, that would be good. It'd be good for business too, right? Yeah. That's most fun of I live near Ferg's. Games happening. Central's loaded with Rays, jerseys everywhere.
Totally. Out of town teams too. I mean, they love to come down here.
Yeah. So, it just creates a good, fun vibe. And, First Ave South is always a little more crowded than you like, but it's part of it, right? You're like, oh, baseball is happening today.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens. I can't even place a bet on this one because it's all over the place.
Yeah.
All over the place. So I ask every guest, Nate, you can't select your own, unfortunately. If it's your birthday, and I'll open it up for you, Tampa or St. Pete, where are you going to eat?
Okay. And so my birthday's in a couple weeks, so my wife's like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
So I grew up for a period of time in West Tampa, old amazing Cuban restaurants, and I was talking about the Greasy Spoons.
Yeah.
So my favorite place to go, even bringing my 2 young kids with us, is La Teresita.
Okay.
Super no frills, great food, just perfect spot. I know it's not the fanciest spot.
But it doesn't need to be.
Love.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're going to do.
Okay, but love it.
Yeah. If not, the other place that very similar but actually totally different is Ted Peters.
I don't know that place.
Oh, right, we're going. It's in Pasadena, right here.
Okay.
Before-
No one said this.
Ted Peters Smoke Fish House.
No.
Oh, it is a gem. Been open 100 years, 200, I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, right on Pasadena, open air. They have their own
Yeah.
smokehouse on property.
How has no one ever told me about this place?
Now we're friends, and I got you.
Yeah, okay,
and
good.
and we really try to make our fish dip based on their version because I think it's the best. But they smoke all their own fish there. You can go buy it by the pint, by the quart. It's a great Thanksgiving thing to bring over for the holidays. But they talk about doing the small things well.
Yeah.
They do a burger, no fries.
Just burger.
They do beer, no liquor, one beer. They have smoked fish and potato salad. That's it.
But they crush it.
Crush it. And they've got this amazing staff that is on the tough side, but you got to behave there,
Right.
and they'll set you right. But those two kinds of places, I think, they tell so many stories. They've been open for so long. You know, I grew up going to both of them, and they're just my favorite places to hang out.
I love it. Okay, we're going.
It's cash only at Ted Peters.
Yeah, I got the vibe.
Yeah.
I got the vibe. Make sure we stop at the bank before. Well, thank you for everything you're doing. I'm so happy to have you here in St. Pete and bringing your concepts and ideas and your hospitality, most importantly, to the area. I'm glad we had an opportunity to connect.
Me too.
Did we miss anything that you want to tell people of St. Pete?
I don't think so. We're new here. We're the new kids, and excited to meet everybody.
28th block of Central.
That's right. Excited to meet everybody and get to know you and come check us out.
Yeah, go check out Nate at Cheeky's if you're in St. Pete, or go to Willa's or Willa's Provisions. Man, that was terrible. That was embarrassing.
Okay.
Over in Tampa, and support local business.
Thank you.
That's what the show is all about. So thanks everyone.